Well, my friends, it is that time of the day again. It is time for another episode of Voices in the Game. We want to thank you all for joining us for today's episode, and I am so excited to get our conversation started with our guest on the program here today. He is a broadcaster, a podcast host, and he is the head coach for the Gateway Regional High School Gators football team in Woodbury Heights, New Jersey. He is Mr. Andrew Daley. Andrew, how are you, my friend? Thank you so much for
Hey,
coming on. We appreciate it.
Colin, I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. I don't know if I could live up to that intro, man. That was great, but yeah, I wear a lot of hats and I like to have fun with it. And I appreciate you having me on. And I've watched your other podcasts and really, like what you're doing. So definitely excited to be here and excited to talk shop with you and kind of, give you a little background to where I came from and what I'm doing. So thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, Andrew, the pleasure is all mine, my friend. I can't wait to get our conversation started. And before we start, we do want to send a special thank you to all of our listeners that have followed along with Voices in the Game all summer long. And if you are not subscribed already, please make sure to give us a follow and subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to Voices in the Game on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on YouTube. So, Andrew, let's get this party started. I would want to go back to the beginning. So, when did you first get your start in the desire in wanting to play football?
So playing football, I grew up playing football since I was 4 years old. I always, knew that that's what I wanted to do. I always joke with people like I feel like I'm the only kid that's never played soccer before. I feel like even when you're 4 years old, you always try soccer at least once. I think I'm the only person who's never played soccer. So I played football from a very young age, growing up. Played all through high school. I did pretty well. I was lucky enough to, earn a couple scholarships coming out of high school and was able to go on and play in college. But I knew from the get go that football is what I wanted to do. I messed around with baseball a little bit. I wasn't a very good baseball player, but it was more of like a social thing. And I stopped playing baseball like sophomore year of high school and really focused my attention on football. And it's been football ever since. And honestly, football, and I always say this to people, like every opportunity that I've gotten in my life, every great thing that I've gotten to do, and I've done a lot of great things in my life, like, and not great, like exciting things, everything that I got to do in my life, travel in the world and stuff, and we'll talk about it, but it goes back directly to football. So I'm really blessed in that regard to have that experience for sure.
Yes, and we will obviously get back to your time as a college football player, Andrew. And, just staying on the track with getting your start, when did you first start to get the idea that I think I want to coach as well and also be a broadcaster? Was it always something that you wanted to do at the same time?
So the broadcasting thing was it was it's an interesting story how I got into broadcasting, but let's rewind. When I graduated high school, I go to Towson University right out of high school, and that's where I started my football career. I was there on a full scholarship, and I go there and I meet they have athletic academic advisors specifically for the football team, and I meet with my athletic academic advisor. He says, what do you want to do with your life? And at that point, I was 19 years old. I said, I want to major in physical education and I want to coach football. That person told me, listen, I'm putting it all out there. He said, I'm not going to let you take the easy way out. Anybody could be a coach and a teacher, was what I was told. We're going to, we're going to put you somewhere else. And I'm on full scholarship and I'm 19 years old at the time. So I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, hey, I want to major in this, but do I really have any leverage here because they're paying for my schooling? So, long story short, I'm majoring in communications. So I'm majoring in communications, public speaking, sports broadcasting background, track and stuff like that. I've always enjoyed, um, the arts. I've always enjoyed act. I've done some, small acting stuff. I've done the podcasting. I like the interviews. I like to be in front of the camera. I've always enjoyed it. And, I'm 37 now. That's almost 20 years ago, right? 27. Yeah, it's almost 20 years ago that I kind of put the broadcasting on the back burner. And we'll talk a little, that's what this show is about, right? Voices of the game. So, uh, that comes full circle a little bit later on. But like I said, I never went to college thinking that I was going to be a broadcaster. It was always something that was in the back of my mind that I enjoyed doing, but I always knew that I wanted to coach football. So, and that was from day one.
And moving forward with your playing career, how was it like for you, Andrew? First playing Division 1 football out Townsend, and then going to the Division 2 ranks at Rowan. How was your overall experience like being a college football player, and also not to mention a quarterback while being a student athlete at the same
Yeah,
time?
I mean, I loved it, man. Like I said, I was on scholarship, so it was a little bit different. I couldn't, a lot of times you're in college and you're working to supplement your income, and you're able to make money and stuff like that. Like I was full-time football player, man, a full-time student, and that's what we did at Towson. I was at Towson for 2 years. Um, excuse me, we had a coaching change after my redshirt freshman year. I wound up transferring to Division 2 Gannon University I was there for maybe 3 months. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I didn't do my research, but Erie, Pennsylvania, as you know, there's a lot of snow, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I didn't last very long at Gannon, but and then I wound up transferring to Rowan University. And Colton, I tell this story, and I use it kind of as an icebreaker. I think I'm one of the few people who ever played all three divisions, Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3, and coached in all three divisions, Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. So I think that's a neat little stat there too. So
As a player, Andrew, what were the main differences that you saw playing for a Division 1 program, a Division 2 program, and a Division 3 program?
just the size, I think a little bit. Division 1, the size. They always talk about the linemen. I was always big. I was a quarterback. I was 6'3", 230 when I played. So I was always a bigger build. So when I go to Towson and I see these guys who are 6'5", 6'6", and I'm like, they're making me look small, and I'm not used to that. And then I kind of go down to the D2 level, and the guys are a little bit more my size. And then go down to the Division 3 level, and the guys are a little bit smaller than that. I think that was the biggest difference. But as far as talent, man, there's talent, and I say this all the time as a coach now. There's talent everywhere. Okay, if you're good enough to play at a high level, they will find you. So whether you're at a Division 1 school, Division 2 school, Division 3 school, don't get down on yourself. Don't feel discouraged or anything like that. If you're good enough to play, man, they'll find you. And there's talent everywhere. And there was talent where I played at Gannon, and there was talent when I played at Rowan too. So, uh, yeah.
Were there any significant memories, Andrew, that stand out to you during your time playing college football?
Yeah, so I didn't get the chance to play very much. I redshirted my freshman year. I got injured my redshirt freshman year at Towson. I hurt my foot and had to get surgery on my foot, and I missed most of the season. That's when I transferred to Gannon, and then I left Gannon. I was kind of out of school for good. I was actually going to pursue a career as a chef, which I always wanted to do. So I was out of school after I left Gannon. I was done, and I got a call from the coach at Rowan, who heard that I was home. Said, "Hey, if we can get you accepted into the school, would you consider coming home and playing?" I said, "Yeah." Blah blah blah. Got accepted. I was on the team there. But you know, when I went to Rowan, I was in a really bad. I don't want to say bad headspace, but I didn't treat it the way it deserved to be treated. I kind of walked in there like the arrogant jerk, and I shouldn't have been. And I wasn't playing to my full potential. I thought I was better than I actually was, and I can admit that now because I've matured over the years, and I realize that I didn't give Division 3 football my best chance, and I felt slighted a little bit when things didn't go my way. So I wound up leaving the team after a season at Rowan, and I got the opportunity to go overseas, and I played in Germany, and that's kind of where that takes off from.
Yeah, how was that opportunity like, Andrew, when you played in Germany for the Rostock Griffins? And did you ever travel abroad and go to Germany before you went there?
No, so I had never been out of the country before then. I had got hooked up with an agent um, after Rowan, and he told me about this website that takes United States players, and you upload your film. And I still had film from high school, and I still had some film from Towson from like the spring game and stuff like that I did play in. So I uploaded that film, and he said you need to get a passport right away. And as soon as I got on there, I had like probably 5 or 6 teams that wanted to bring me over from different countries. I remember there was one in like Czech Republic. I was like, I'm not going there. Like, I don't know. Like there's Sweden, countries like that. And I really had to, this is a huge opportunity and a huge move. Obviously, I think I'm 24 years old at the time, maybe. And there's a lot of uncertainty. It's like, oh, somebody's going to pay for me to fly to another country, and they're going to pay for me to live and pay for me to play football there. And they're doing this for me. So I had to really do my background investigations, I guess you could say, on these programs. And we had Zoom meetings at the time. And, I kind of vetted these programs, and I got hooked up with the Rostock team, and they were awesome. And I still talk to the head coach to this day. I still talk to the president, and I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I got, they fly you over to Germany. They put you up in housing. They give you transportation. They pay you to play. And you just go out there and you practice 2 times a week, and you play in a game once a week, and they pay you for it, man. The rest of the time is spent traveling the world and just having a good time. So I was really blessed to have that opportunity to go not only once, but I went back there twice for 2 seasons. So
did you play in any other countries when you were there, Andrew, or was it just specifically
no, so it was
German?
it was the German Football League. So we just played in Germany, but we were all over the place. Like we were in Rostock, which is a beautiful city. It's right on the Baltic Sea, and it's a huge tourist attraction because all the cruise ships come in to Rostock. So there's a lot of Americans coming into Rostock because it's one of the stops on the ship. But it was about 2 hours away from Berlin. We played in Berlin. We played in Leipzig. We played. There's a bunch of other cities that we played in, historical cities that I just can't remember. But yeah, we played all over the country, but we didn't go anywhere else.
How were the crowds like when they were there, Andrew?
So they started off small. I like to say they grew as we got better, and I like to take pride in the fact that I was a part of that. But they started off small, couple hundred. By the time I left, maybe a couple thousand, and now they're playing. They just played a game, and I'm shouting them out. Rostock Griffins. They just played a game, and soccer is the big thing over there in Europe. So they just played a game in the main soccer stadium, which they do once a year now. That was always like a lofty goal when I was there. It wasn't something that we were able to do, but now that they've gotten successful, they play one game a year in that main stadium. And I think they had like 25, 30,000 fans in there a couple weeks ago. So they've really taken off. And I like to think that myself and a couple other of my buddies who were Americans were like the ground floor of that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing, Andrew.
Yeah.
How was it like living there? Did you have to live with other players, or were you guys on your own with your own places?
No, so I live with 2 other Americans and one guy from Austria. And you're only allowed 1 or 2 Americans on the field at one time in overseas. I don't know if you know that or not, but you're only allowed. I think at that time we were three Americans per team, but only 2 could be on the field at one time. So my one roommate, who I actually did a podcast up until last year with, I still talk to him very often. He was from Idaho. My other roommate was from New York, which I'm in New Jersey, so we're pretty local. And the other roommate, like I said, was from Austria. He was a dual passport. So there was 2 Americans, me and the guy from Idaho, and then 2 dual passports. The kid from New York was actually a Italian passport as well. So 2 dual citizens. So it was fun. We had a good time, man.
Just seeing the growth of the NFL and college football overseas, especially with the NFL, with their trips to London and their trip to Germany last year. So, as somebody who played overseas, Andrew, how was that like being a part of that experience, knowing that the sport of football has just grown so much, especially overseas, with those
Yeah.
games being sold out every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be long before the NFL has a team in Europe, whether it's London or wherever it might be. I guess London's the most logical explanation, but like you said yourself, those you can't get a ticket to those games. Like the European fans are so passionate about sports, and they're so hungry to have something successful. And like I said, it was great to play in front of the crowds in Germany. And the NFL, you even see it in baseball now. They're professional wrestling. Like the European market is such a huge market for sports, and I really think that somebody's going to capitalize on it real soon.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on, actually, I just wanted to see. I was trying to remember if there was a game. Oh, yes, yes, there was a game in Germany. I was trying to remember. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Man,
I forget
dying.
where they played. I think it was Berlin,
Yes, Munich. They're going to be
Munich. Okay,
Falcons and Colts are playing in Berlin this year. So,
okay. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure it's going to be sold out, and I'm sure it's going to be a great atmosphere. And dude, they like to drink and they like to have a good time and have fun and cheer and scream and light fireworks in the stands, and it's crazy, man. It's a good time.
and when you move back to the States, Andrew, how was that like when you moved back to the States and then starting to get into coaching for the first time?
Yeah, and that was sad, man. I had to go back to the real world. So my playing career over in Germany, I actually tore my shoulder when I was there my second year. So I got injured. I played through it, played through a couple games, came home, and I had to go back into the working world, honestly, and decided I wasn't ready to do that. So I played a year of actually arena football, quote unquote, out in York, Pennsylvania. It was a team called the York Capitals at the time. I played a little arena football, and then decided that those boards hurt way too much, and that's when I got into my coaching and started my coaching career.
And how was that experience like playing arena football? Because as somebody who's broadcast arena football myself, yeah, those those boards really can be a handful
Man, I
with them.
listen. It was fun because again, it was the camaraderie. They put you up in a hotel. I'm living away from home. I'm living with my boys, playing football, getting paid to play football, and I don't have a whole lot of obligations. So it was great from that perspective. Now, you're getting absolutely wrecked when you're getting smashed into these boards. It hurts quite. I don't know if we had the right pads or not, but it really hurt. It wasn't fun. Um, Playing the games, it was, like I said, I had a torn shoulder too, so I was playing through a lot of pain. And those leagues, not, I wasn't in the actual arena league, so it wasn't the most funded league. So then, checks start getting a little bit post dated. Like, hey, hold on to this check until Monday. Hey, we're gonna have to move you guys out of the hotel. We're gonna move you somewhere else. Blah blah blah. I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, you know what? For the beating that I'm taking, man, this isn't worth it. So I think I played like 6 games, and then I left with like 2 or 3 games left. I was like, this is just, and the team wound up folding the next season. So
Yeah, so how was that experience like, Andrew, when your playing career ended and you did start that path into getting into coaching?
like I said, I knew I always wanted to become a coach. So when I finally stopped playing and I was able to coach full time, and I always, like I said, everything I did revolved around football. So every job that I ever had to work with my football schedule. And the one or two jobs that I had that didn't work for my football schedule when I was, maybe I took a year off or something like that. I was miserable, man. And I credit my wife because I bounced around in college, never finished my degree. I went over to Germany and never finished my degree. I'm working as a tile salesman. I'm selling flooring, carpet, tile, whatever it is. And I'm there for 2 years. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she just sits me down one day and she's like, "You're just miserable without football, and you need to go back and finish your schooling and get your, take this to where you want it to go." And that's what I did. I went back to school and I got a coaching job again in college, and it really took off from there. So
Yeah, and when you were at Delaware Valley, when you sent me your resume, seeing that, the one thing I was curious about was you were the recruiting coordinator as well. So how was that like, and what were the main responsibilities of the recruiting coordinator for
well,
anybody who might be interested in learning about it?
yeah, recruiting. I don't think I was. I don't. Did I say? I don't know if that's on my resume or not. I'm not sure. I know I handled recruit. I was in charge of 75 schools in South Jersey. Let's just put it that way, because I don't want to take anything away from the recruiting coordinator, who was much more, a lot more work than I was doing. But I was in charge of like 75 schools, and that was one of the biggest draws to coaching in college for me because I absolutely love being on the road. So coaching during the season was one thing, but as soon as that season ends, now you're on the recruiting trail, and you got 75 schools, and hey, we got 3 or 4 weeks to hit all these schools. You're hitting 5 or 6 schools a day, and you're going in and talking to these different recruits, and you're selling your program, you're selling yourself. you got to get these guys up on a visit. And I really loved that aspect of it. And I made a lot of great connections there, and met a lot of great people, and had some pretty good success recruiting there as well.
And you finally got that first head coaching experience at
Hmm.
Cherry Hill High School, and just hearing about that story, So for anybody who doesn't know, can you take us through where the program was at the time when you took it over, and how was that experience like rebuilding the program with getting players involved and just the improvement of the team?
Sure. So when I took over at Cherry Hill East, which was my first head coaching job, which was an awesome experience, we had my first workout. I think we had 9 kids show up to my first workout. They were on a 0-32 losing streak, so they hadn't won a game in over 3 seasons. I took over the program. We had 9 kids. We built the program. I got the numbers up. We kind of got that senior group to buy in, and finally we win our first game. And the interesting thing, it's pretty crazy actually. We were 0-32 at the time, and we won our first game 32-0. So it was pretty wild how that worked out. So the first win in over 3 years, and it was the same score as the school's record was. So we win that first game win, and we wound up winning 2 more after that. We go 3-7, but the numbers progressively get bigger and bigger, and the program keeps growing. And I screwed up by um, not coaching as so much as being a manager of the program. Because as a head coach, you're responsible for everything. Every little aspect of the program is your responsibility. And what I lost, and again, it's my first head coaching job, so you don't know what you don't know. But what I had lost was the love of actually coaching, being the offensive coordinator, which I did, and then I was just managing, man, and I didn't like it. I like the managing aspect, but I got to coach too because that's what I love to do. So I stepped down, man. I stepped down, and I knew who was going to take over for me. He was on my staff. It's Tyler Drob. He's doing a great job there now. The year after I left, they go on, and I think they won the division or something like that. I knew that team was going to be successful, but dude, it was just time for me to step away. So I took a year off, and of course, you can't stay away too long. The next year, I'm like, okay, I got to get back into coaching, and that's when I interviewed and got the job at Gateway, and now I'm going into my 3rd year at Gateway in a very similar situation. I take over the program. There's about 27 to 35 kids my first year, and now I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to dress everybody because I got 65 kids and not enough helmets. So I like to think that I have a good reputation of recruiting and being able to build a program, and that's kind of showing in what we're doing. We had our best year last year since 2018. We went 5-5, which is a great year, and we're just building off of that now. So
Yeah, that's awesome, Andrew. And then sticking with, one more question with your time at Cherry Hill. What were some of those biggest lessons that you learned as a coach at Cherry Hill, knowing that was your first time as a head coach?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned at Cherry Hill was learning how to delegate responsibility. Like I talked to you about having, as a head coach, we're responsible for every aspect of the program, but I also have assistant coaches too, and they're very capable, you know. And I didn't think that they weren't capable, but for a while there, I just thought that I had to control every aspect of the program, which I don't. And I've learned that now. I've learned how to delegate. I'm still hands on in pretty much every decision that's made because I have to be. Because at the end of the day, my name is at the top of the program. So if one of my assistants is out there doing something that he shouldn't be doing and somebody gets hurt, it comes back on me. If my booster club does something that they shouldn't be doing and somebody gets hurt or anything, it comes back on me. So I always have that in mind, but I've learned how to delegate responsibility better, and it allows me to manage that coach slash manager aspect where I got lost in the shuffle at Cherry Hill. I'm doing a lot better job of managing that here at Gateway. So where I'm back as the offensive coordinator, I'm still working with the kids. I'm still coaching football, and I'm also managing the program as well.
And why did you decide to get back into coaching, Andrew, when you did take that a year off? I believe it was
It was
2022.
yeah. It's just in me, man. Like I said, everything that I've ever gotten in my life I've accredited to football, and football has given me so much, and I just try to give back to it. And it's just like I said, I don't know of anything else I'd rather be doing except maybe calling games. I don't know. I really love that aspect of it too. So that's been a lot of fun, and I love being a coach. I'm a teacher now, which I never thought was gonna would happen the route that I took, but I got my teaching certification, and we're all good. We're making it work here.
How long have you been a teacher then now, Andrew?
So I'm going into my third year teaching as well. So I teach construction, foundations of construction, which is almost like a glorified wood shop, and then I teach intermediate construction, and I co-teach with an advanced construction class.
Oh, that is awesome, Andrew. And
Yeah.
why did you decide to get into a teaching as well on top of coaching?
Well, when I took the Gateway job for football, I was still working at Cherry Hill, and at the time, I thought that I could work adjunct and just travel to Gateway. But I realized that wasn't going to work very long. So I went to them. I said, "Hey, this isn't going to work. We got to figure something out." And I was going to take a secretarial position at Gateway, and the teaching position opened up, and they said, "Hey, do you have any experience in construction?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a ton of experience in construction. I sold flooring to I worked with the contractors. That's all I worked with was the construction guys. My father owned his own construction company for 35 years. I worked for him. Blah blah blah." It's called alternate route. The way it is, you apply alternate route to get your certification, and that's how I was able to get certified as a construction teacher. Now I can't teach anything else, but I'm certified to teach construction. So
Do you have any of your players in class with you?
yeah, I got a lot of those knuckleheads, man. I got a lot of kids in my class in the foundations. They always take me. They say I'm an easy A, but hey, listen, I'm a tough grader, man. You're not just gonna skate through my class. You're not coming to woodshop to mess around. So no, I'm just
What,
kidding. Yeah, I got a bunch of my guys, and we have a good time. But they come in and they work just like they know they're coming to practice and work. They don't try and take advantage of me in the classroom, and I don't let them, man. So.
what are some of the projects that the students do during the semester?
So we'll start off with, something basic like a birdhouse. First of all, we start off with safety. We spend about 3 or 4 weeks on that, the safety in the space, and then we'll go into, birdhouses, and then we'll go into framing. Like we teach them how to frame windows, frame doors, lay flooring, tile flooring. Teach them how to lay laminate flooring. So I always say I'm preparing you for life. When you think that you're going to do it yourself and you want to your house needs a new floor and you think you decide to do it yourself, and I'm teaching you about the trials and tribulations of trying to lay your own floor down and how frustrating it could possibly be.
Yeah, yeah, that's all awesome, Andrew. Yeah,
Yeah.
and going back to football, how does the team look this year, and how long have you guys been practicing? As I assume.
Yeah, so we started in it's crazy how early we start in New Jersey, man. We started after the first day after the spring championships ended. We're allowed to start practice, and I feel like if you don't start that day, which is like June 16th or something like that. So we've been going 3 days a week since June 16th. I try and give them 10 days off here, a couple times during the summer, because once we start on August 11th, we're going 5 days a week. But it's been a grind, and it's a long summer. And everybody says, well, you're a teacher, you get the summers off. Well, I got a 2-year-old kid, I got a 5-year-old kid, I got a 17-year-old daughter. So I'm home with my kids every day. And then I get to go and I get to coach your kids. So there's not much summer going on here, but outlook for the season, I'm cautiously optimistic. We got a nice little squad coming back, and I'm hoping for the best, man, honestly.
Yeah, and how was that grind like, Andrew, with you during the summer? Especially camp. Because as somebody like me who played high school football at Sarah Catholic High School in McKeesport, PA, it was a grind for all of our coaches. And I saw too firsthand how much time it took away from their families, and then all of us being out grinding in the hot sun in the middle of August when camp starts. So how was that like for you, just managing all of that, and also like you just mentioned, also managing your family life as well with everything that you do, because it seems like you're a busy man.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, I spend more time with their kids in the football season than I do my own, and it's a God's honest truth. I'll go into work at 7 a.m. I won't see my kids in the morning. I come home from work at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night during the season, and I see them for a half hour and put them to bed, and that's that. And it's not a woe is me. I chose it. I enjoy it, but people I think need to be privy to the rigors of coaching, and it's not just I don't just show up to collect a paycheck and do an hour and a half and then I go home on the late bus. Like that's not what I do. I give it my all, and I'm there long hours. And I was talking about this on my podcast a couple of days ago with somebody. You need to have, if you're going to be a coach in any sport, you need to have a spouse who understands what it's like to be a coach. Because if your spouse does not understand the coaching profession or respect the coaching profession, um, it'll never work, because there's just too many hours. There's too many missed birthdays. There's too many missed recitals, missed weddings. I can't tell you how many relationships that I've lost because you know I didn't make the wedding. I couldn't go to your wedding. So and people don't, like you said, if you've never been invested in somebody or something the way that coaches invest in their kids, you probably wouldn't understand. And I get it. It's not for everybody, but it's for me, man. And I'm lucky enough to be blessed with a wife who understands, and um, she, fully supportive of what I'm doing now. All the other stuff outside of this, like the podcasting and stuff, the broadcasting, it's because I love to do it, and I just enjoy having fun, and it's fun for me, and I really enjoy it, and I think she sees that too. So
Yeah, and sticking with your coaching career, Andrew, what are the main philosophies and teachings that you try to install in your players? Because this is a really important stage of their life, knowing that they're learning to become men at this stage as well.
yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head, man. You're teaching young men how to become positive members of society and their community. And I always tell them, I said, I don't care, man, how many games we win. I don't care how many games we lose. Like, yeah, I want to win. It's great. But it's about, creating positive members of society and helping mold them into members of society. And I know they got parents. Most of them have parents. Some of them don't, but um, to be able to take kids, for 4 or 5 months out of the year and spend more time with them than your own family, and they're spending more time with me than their own family, dude, you got a huge impact on that person's life, and you're really just trying to make a positive impact. And that's my philosophy, man. Embrace the kid, embrace the person, and you can embrace the player too, but man, that's on the back burner, because dude, I'm not getting hired or fired on my wins and losses. I'll tell you that right now. It's great to win. I'm going to get hired and fired off of, can I help mold young men into positive members of society? And I've done a pretty good job of that, I think.
And if you haven't mentioned it already, Andrew, what is your favorite part about coaching football?
I just being around the kids, man, being around the guys. I just love the atmosphere. I just love um, sitting in the office and talking with my coaching staff, and game planning, and going through depth charts. And then you get to go out to practice. And sometimes, dude, I'll be lying if I said sometimes practice isn't a grind. I'm like, oh boy, here we go, got to get through this one. But hey, man, I turn it on as soon as we step onto the field, and that's got to be my favorite. Just being around the kids, being around my coaching staff, and just having fun, man. It's really all it's about.
Yeah, and one more question for you, Andrew, about the coaching side of it, and then we'll move on to the broadcasting side of your career.
Sure.
So you really have had a lot of terrific opportunities, the coach at the high school and the college level. So what are the main differences with coaching football at the high school and at the college level?
Oh man, there's a lot of differences, but again, I go back to coaching at the high school level. You're molding young men into positive members of society. I'm not going to get hired or fired off of my wins and losses. Coaching at the college level, you still want to create, positive members of society, but you need to win. You better win too, because if you don't win, they're going to be looking for somebody else. And I've been blessed to be in situations with very successful coaches. Coach Duke Greco when I was at Delaware Valley, who was highly successful. I mean, as successful as you can be at Del Val without winning the national title. He's the head coach at Westchester now. he's going on to have great success. And I've been in great opportunities to be with people who've been very successful. I think that's probably the biggest thing between high school and college is college football is a business. High school, it's not, if
And
that makes sense.
oh yes, definitely. And you know what, Andrew? Something else that I was thinking about. With today's landscape, with college football, with NIL, have you ever had a chance to talk to any of your players who might have had who might have had interest from colleges? Have you had to talk to any of your players, about the state of college football today? With how NIL has completely changed the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked to my players a lot about the whole recruiting landscape of high school football in general, and I think high school recruiting has taken a major hit from not only NIL but the transfer portal now. Because you talk about the transfer portal being the way it is, and NIL, and why, as a coach, am I going to go out? Let's say I'm a Division II coach. Why, as a Division II coach, am I going to go out and recruit a 17-year-old high school kid to come in and not play for me right away, to groom a couple years, when I could go into the transfer portal and take a 22 or 23-year-old kid who's been playing college football for 3 or 4 years already, who can come in and play for me right away? Now, my job's on the line, why wouldn't I do that? And I understand that there's a need to like recruit and grow your own talent, but the realistic part of this is, with the transfers the way they are, there's a very small chance that that player from high school is going to grow through your program for 4 or 5 years anyway. So these coaches are kind of living in the portal, and it's make it I think high school recruiting in general is suffering from it, honestly.
Yep. And then moving on, Andrew, to your broadcasting side
Yeah.
of your career. So, why did you decide to get into broadcasting? Because it seemed like this is something that you recently just started doing.
So yeah, what I say, I just turned 37 in May. So last summer, Colton, I told you I've always enjoyed being in front of the camera. Okay, I've done some acting stuff. I've always done podcasting. I've had podcasts on and off for the better part of, let's say, 6, 7 years. Always liked broadcasting, and I enjoy talking. I think my profession in sales helped me with that, talking to people and telling stories. And I just felt like that I had a lot to offer with my experiences, where I've been, what I've done from a coaching and playing perspective. Last summer, 2 summers ago, 2 years ago, I was like, man, I really want to give a run at this, at broadcasting and commentary. And it was too late for me. So I kind of it was too late in the season, so I didn't get anything going then. But last summer, I really started out, and I reached out to every media company that I could reach out to, that I could think of, that would broadcast games. And I credit this guy, every time I post something on LinkedIn. Um, to It was Turner from Flow Sports. I think his name's John Turner. I reach out to Flow Sports, and this guy emails me back. I send him my resume. Say, here's what I want to do. How can I do it? Here's my resume, blah, blah, blah. How can I do it? He writes me back, and he's got no business to write me back. And this is why I thank him all the time. Because I'm nobody from nobody to him. And he writes me back, and he sits me down and he says, all of our broadcasts are basically, we just handle the production side. We don't handle the staffing. All of our games are staffed by local institutions. Here's your best bet. Make a reel, do something, and blast it out to local colleges and see what happens. So Colton, that's exactly what I did last summer. I found a game on YouTube, a Division III game, that didn't have audio over it. It was just a crowd noise. There was no commentary over it. I looked up the teams. I looked up the box score. I familiarized myself with the roster and the stats and everything. And I just recorded a 20-minute demo with my, just like I am right now. I sat right at this desk with this microphone and I watched the game on my computer and I called the game on my computer and I did it for 20 minutes and I called a play by play and I've never done anything. I've never had any experience broadcasting. And I blasted that reel out to every school, every college, Division One. I don't even know. Like I said, I didn't know at the time that, who staffs games, who doesn't. I sent it to every school in the Northeast within a 4-hour radius, I'd probably say. And I got 3 offers off of that tape for color commentary for colleges. And one of them was Shippensburg. And Shippensburg was who I worked with last year full time for their home football games. I did color commentary with my buddy Jacob Hitz, who's awesome on play by play. He's doing his own thing now. And that's how I got started, man. I filmed a 20-minute reel in my basement, just like I'm sitting here right now. And the rest is history, man. I've gotten, and Colton, like I'm not remiss, man. I've got a very interesting track of how I got here. I know that I've gotten very lucky, and there's people that work very hard and very, very long to be able to, have the opportunities that I've gotten. And I'm so blessed and so fortunate. And the thought is not lost on me, man. Like I just pinch myself sometimes that I get to do the stuff that I've done, because the games that I've got to call have been awesome, and the games coming up that I get to call are going to be awesome, and I just can't wait, man. I love being in the booth, man.
What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned, Andrew, during that first year at Shippensburg? What were some things that you were looking to improve on, as the season went on as the color commentator for Shippensburg football?
Yeah, so my timing was pretty good from the start. Like, I was pretty good with not, like, talking over the play by play guy and knowing when to shut my mouth when the play's about to start, so the play by play guy could take over. And I got lucky because I was supposed to do Shippensburg, and the SID at Westchester reached out to me last summer, and they had an opening just for 1 week, and it was a week before Shippensburg. So he asked me if I can go do color for Westchester for the opening week, which was awesome because it was the opening game at Westchester. Again, my good friend was the head coach at Del Val. It was his first game as the head coach at Westchester. So I got to be on the call for his first game, and I got to get my feet wet and get my first game under me before I went up to Shippensburg. So the thing that I learned most is probably just about pacing and timing, and knowing when to shut up and knowing when to talk, and knowing when not to talk, and stuff like that. So
And what are some things now, Andrew, that you do to prepare for your role when you do go into the booth and get ready to call the game as the analyst?
so I say I put more effort, more time into this sometimes in my lesson plans. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to admit that, but dude, there's so much preparation that goes in, and making those spotting boards, man. I got to figure out a faster way to make the spotting boards, man. They take forever, but dude, I'm studying the games. Obviously, I'm going back and looking at the stats and the box scores, and reading the game notes, and then I'll go back and I'll watch the previous week's games from not only the team that I called, but the team that I'm calling against. And I usually do that, during the week, and then I'll have a call with my play-by-play guy, and I'll watch again on the ride up. I'll put it on my phone with the GPS, and I'll have that playing in the background just so I can get refresher of some of the big names and stuff like that. But it's been awesome, and I've had so many people who have been helpful in this early going, man. And I'm so fortunate to have the opportunity to go back to Westchester this year. And I got another Princeton game this year. I get to call. I just found out yesterday. I get to call Princeton Harvard this year, which with Cody Crucial at Princeton, who's awesome and has been nothing but a huge help for me. And, like, dude, these guys have been great, man. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh yeah, that is amazing, Andrew. And I believe, and you had experience calling Princeton football as well, right?
So I called one game last year. So yeah, so Princeton, Dartmouth, and here's the story about Cody too. And how many times, Colton, do you email somebody, or you send out a resume and they say, "Hey, we'll keep it on file and we'll let you know." Well, Cody, I did that, and Cody, did that to me last summer, and I didn't think I was going to hear back from him. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and my buddy's wife works for the Giants. So we're going to the Giants game, and it's a Sunday afternoon, or Sunday morning, and I'm driving to MetLife Stadium, and I get an email from Cody. It's like, hey, we got an opening Friday night. We played Dartmouth. Can you come be the color analyst? And I got to like pull over. I give the phone to my wife. I'm like, you got to answer him right now, right away, blah, blah, blah. So I got to do the game because it was an ESPNU game. So they had nationally televised staff. So they brought in a commentating crew, and then Cody and I did the radio broadcast for that. But just that experience, being in a stadium like that with the production equipment and the resources available, like we had double monitor, everything we could possibly have. It was like being in broadcaster heaven. So, but who knows? I don't know what I don't know. So I'm sure there's nicer setups out there, but that's the nicest one that I've been in until I got the chance to go to MetLife and call the New Jersey State Championship football games this past year too. So that was a good time.
Yeah, how was that like getting the chance to go to MetLife?
Yeah, well, that was another.
Not just
well,
not just going to watch a Giants game.
No, that was an awesome thing too. Like, listen, I sit here, and that was on me. I reached out, I sent them my credentials, I sent them my reels, and said, hey, here's my stuff. Don't know what you guys do for broadcasting, but I'd love to be a part of it. If you need anybody, this, that, the other. And the guys from NJ.com wrote me back and said, hey, we try and bring color in for the bigger games. They're all state championship games, but the two big games. And we'd love to have you come up. So it was myself and a guy named Dan Long, he was absolutely awesome, consummate professional like that. And I can't thank these guys enough for just like taking me in, because everybody knows it's my first year doing this, and taking me in and just like welcoming me, because you could really easily just like shun somebody who's coming in and they're fresh and they're getting these opportunities. So I go in and I'm calling Don Bosco versus Bergen Catholic, number 1 and number 2 in the state of New Jersey, two of the biggest high schools, in the country, some consider. And I'm calling the state championship game along with Dan Long at MetLife Stadium, and it was absolutely awesome, man.
Oh yeah, that is definitely amazing, Andrew. Do your players ever say anything about your broadcasting? Where did
yeah,
they
all
come
the
to
time.
school and saying, "Hey, coach, I watched your game over the weekend"?
Yeah, all the time. They mess with me. They like to bust my chops, but yeah, we have fun with it. They know that I like to do things, dude. They got my full attention, but they know that I like to do things too, man. But when it's football time, like I'm missing 2 Westchester games this year because I have games of my own. And I told them, I said, hey, that's my first priority. I'm not skipping. I would love to do this for you, but my team's got to come first. And those guys know they come first for me.
Oh yeah, most definitely, Andrew. And how do you use your background as a player and a coach, to analyze plays, and try to describe it so everybody watching can understand?
And that's the thing that I think that I do well is dissecting the plays, and that's what being a former player, being a current coach, dissecting the play. I'm not just on there talking, like I'm telling people why the defense is doing this, or why the running back did this, or why the offensive line is doing this. And I felt like kind of like Romo-esque, to where he's got, he's like a little bit annoying with it, but I'm like, all right, well, look, you see this linebacker here, he's lined up here. If I'm the offense, I'm going to throw it to this guy. And then they turn out and they throw it to that guy. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty cool that I just, I saw that and called it. But that's kind of like, I guess where, the schools really enjoyed and the people really enjoyed my work is my analyst as a coach. Listen, I'm not the most refined guy on the mic. You could hear me. I talk. I got a little accent. I say a lot. Like I'm just talking, man. We're just having a conversation, and that's what I do when I'm calling the game. But it's coach speak, and I'm teaching and I'm telling stories, man. And that's what I'm trying to do, and telling people why. If you're tuning in for the first time, why are they doing what they're doing? And I think I do a pretty good job of that.
And when you start watching games again, getting ready for the week, I assume that's what you're looking for, the try to watch, like what plays and what strategies the offense and the defense has for the games.
Yeah, absolutely. I try and, I study up, and I try and watch as many games as I possibly can, and listen to different voices, and don't put me on the spot and ask me some of my favorites because I wouldn't be able to tell you right now. I do have a couple, but they're not coming to my mind right now. But I do watch games and see what tendencies are, and obviously it's all part of the preparation. And the thing that got me off surprise, that got me off guard was calling basketball because I had no experience with basketball. That was really fun this winter too. I got the opportunity to do that. So
Yeah, that was for Stockton.
yeah, Stockton. So I'm in the Facebook groups. I'm sure everybody's in them, the commentator groups and all. And I'm like, hey, what's everybody do in the football off season? And they're like, do basketball. I'm like, okay. I'd never called basketball before, but I hit up a couple local colleges. Hey, I just did all this commentary for all these football games. Here's my resume, blah blah blah. If you need commentary, I'd love to be considered. And Stockton and a couple other schools got back to me, but Stockton was the most, not persistent, but responsive. And I got the opportunity to go down to Stockton. I called Stockton University men's and women's basketball on Wednesday nights and Saturday afternoons. And it was a one-man group, so it was just me. So I kind of learned on the fly, and I just had so much fun with it because it was just me, man. So I'm like, I'm feeling the energy. I'm testing out different catchphrases. I'm seeing what works, what doesn't, and I think I got a couple good clips out of it where my energy really came through on the basketball calls because as a football color guy, like I'm kind of more reserved and even keel. But doing basketball play by play, I get the little bit be what it is. I get to be a little bit more animate, so that was fun.
How was that experience like when you first started broadcasting basketball, knowing that you were going into it for the first time?
It was nerve wracking. First of all, I had to cancel. I had to call out my first game because I've never gotten pink eye in my life, Colton, and I was so sick. It was over winter break. I remember the date. It was supposed to be January 11th, and I had no voice and double bloodshot eyes. And I said, "There's no way that I could go and call this game." I told the SID Dave. I texted him on like a Wednesday. I said, "Dave, I understand if you don't want to bring me back. Here's what's going on. I would love to come back, but I cannot call these games on Saturday." He was like, "No problem. See you next week." So that was freaking awesome, like nothing. And I go in and I call my first game, and I'm a little tentative, and I was prepared obviously because I'm a preparer, and I call my first game and I kind of get through it. But by my second and third games, dude, I went in there, couple energy drinks, had fun with it, man, and just rolled and had a blast. And the men's team did really well. The girls were a little average, but I'm looking forward to going back there hopefully this year.
And moving on to one of the last things it seems with what you do, Andrew, is your podcast, A Coach's Challenge. So, where did you get the inspiration to start your own podcast as well, on top of everything else that you do?
Yes, I've had that podcast on and off for like 5 years, and it's a coach's challenge, and it's stories told by coaches but heard by everyone. That's my tagline. And what it is I want to hear coaches' journeys. I don't want to. It's not an X's and O's podcast. There's enough of those out there, man. I want to hear about your background. Why'd you get into coaching? Who were some of your inspirations? What's your coaching philosophy? What's your recruiting philosophy? What would you tell a younger coach who's trying to break in? Blah blah blah. And that's what my podcast is about, a coach's challenge. And I rebooted it a couple months ago, and I was lucky enough to get some great guests on, and kind of fizzled out a little bit. I took some time off again, and recently, I would say within the past month, I got picked up by it's called Coachcast Network, and it's a group of coaches who host shows, and some of them do daily shows, and I don't do daily shows because my shows they're like 45 minutes. I can't do a 45-minute show every day, so I do one 45-minute show a week, and then I'll do a reflection episode. So I'll do the 45-minute airing on Tuesdays, and then I'll do the reflection episode on Thursday. So I got a new episode dropping tomorrow of that. It's funny you say that because I keep looking over at my phone, and I can't believe one of my tweets is going viral, and my phone is just nonstop right now. How many views am I up to? 75,000, man. I started, I went out to practice and I had like 8,000. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's my podcast and just have a good time with it. It's a way to stay active and keep my voice fresh, I guess.
What's
And
the
I
tweet?
get to meet so many different people, man. Like tomorrow's episode, I got to sit down with the head coach at Towson University, and then next week I'm sitting down with the head coach from Southern Utah, and I talked to Derek Sage, who was at UCLA. Like, dude, it's just talking to people and having fun and really just having a good time. So that's what we're doing.
What's the tweet, Andrew, that's going viral right now?
So it's like it's a tweet. It says, um, like, what's a coaching opinion, quote unquote? What's a coaching opinion that you have that would have people like this? And it's the picture of my camera's over there, but it's like the picture of the cartoon. I don't know what the cartoon is, but they're holding it.
It's Tangled.
Yeah, so they're holding the swords to his face. So it's like, what's a coaching opinion that would have you like that? So I just quoted the tweet and I said, coaches should walk through stretch lines talking to their players rather than standing around in a group and BSing. And what that means is rather than standing as a group of coaches and talking amongst yourselves, walk through your lines, walk through your players, and just talk to them, man. It doesn't have to be coach speak. I'm a high school teacher, or I'm a high school coach and a teacher. I told you it's about building relationships and building positive members of society. Hey, man, heard you had a math test today. How'd you do on it? Hey, man, I saw you post a picture on Instagram, man. What'd you cook for dinner last night? Stuff like that, dude. And just having positive conversations with these people that they may or may not be having at home or anywhere else, and that's, I said, as a staff, dude, we could have our time. We'll have our time in the office. We'll have our time at the bar after the game. It's about the kids right now. So to be there for the kids, and I guess it's resonating because it's going crazy right now. So
Yeah, that's awesome, Andrew. And what advice do you have for anybody who has an interest in joining us in working in the sports industry?
so here's my thing, man, and I believe it and I live by it. Like, just it's so simple, but just do it, man. If you got something that you want to do in your life, just do it. And if you don't succeed, at least you could say you tried, man. Like, dude, I get choked up. I'm getting worked up. Like, just like I never thought that I would be here. I never thought that I'd be in Princeton Stadium calling football games for Princeton University football. Like, I never thought that I'd be at Westchester calling my good friend's football game. Like, dude, but I tried and it worked. And you never know unless you try, man. And if you got something that interests you, stop making excuses because listen, the people who care about you, they're going to support you one way or another. So whether you succeed or you don't succeed, dude, you got to try, man. Always try. And that's my biggest piece of advice to anybody. Like, I'm 37 years old. I've done so many things in my life that are awesome that people are like, wow, I would love to do that. Something. Well, do it, man. Just do it. Cause I guarantee that there's something in your life that you're passionate about that you wanted to try at some point. And I'm not just talking about you, but I'm talking to anybody who listens to this, man. Just go for it, man. Like, dude, I was background in action movies and Rocky movies and stuff like that. Why'd you do that? Because I've always wanted to be in movies and it's fun. I gave up a Saturday and I went and sat and got paid to be an extra in a Creed movie. Like, it's fun, man. Just do it. Have fun. Enjoy life because you never know. That's how I live my life, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, Andrew. I was an extra in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood about it was 2018. So yeah,
Yeah. It
that's
could be long days.
years ago.
You're
That
on
was
set
fun.
for, I mean, I was on set for 12 hours. So,
Yeah. Oh, I was on set all night, but it was so much fun. Man,
yeah.
I got to see Tom Hanks too
Oh,
after we
that's awesome.
started seeing it. I did make a little pinch in the movie, so that was a lot of fun too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's
So
great. Yeah.
yeah.
I couldn't tell you where I was sitting, but that's, neither here nor there, man. As I said, just if you got something you want to do, man, just go do it because you never know. You never know when your time's up, man. Just enjoy yourself.
And finally, Andrew, for you, I'm really curious about this one because of all that you have done in the sports industry. Can you pinpoint any favorite memory that stands out to you?
Man, that's a tough question, Colton. Like, dude, I just every day that I get, like, it's so cliche, but I get to wake up and do what I'm doing now, man, and sit and talk to you. Yeah, I don't want to be so cliche as to that, but my favorite memory's got to be something with coaching and just being, I have a couple moments in coaching to where really stood out to me where, parents have come up to me. The one that stands out to me, and I was coaching a kid um, who was, had some legal issues, some substance abuse issues and stuff like that. And, um, after the season, I had the mom come up to me and she's in tears and she's like, I've never had anybody get through to him the way that you got through to him. And you're a phenomenal person and you're a great coach. And I just wanted to say thank you, blah, 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 dude. And that's the stuff, like, that's what really gets you. That's why you're doing it, to make a difference in people's lives. So, if you put me on a spot right now and pinpoint one thing, I would just say it's just being able to make a difference in people's lives, man. So, um, that's why I enjoy coaching, and that's why I enjoy, doing all the other stuff that I do, because I have fun. And I hopefully somebody listens to this and maybe they're motivated and they say, "Hey, I always wanted to try this," and now they're going to go out and try it. So who knows? What's the worst that could happen? You're back where you started. Like, dude, if I made that highlight, or if I made that demo reel last year for the football game and sent it out and didn't get any answers, I'd still be a teacher and I'd still be coaching. I'd still be living a pretty good life. So it just happened to work out. So you never know how things are going to work, man.
Andrew, this was an amazing episode. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. I absolutely loved hearing your journey from playing football to now coaching, and your commentary career and your podcasting career. This has been amazing, Andrew. Thank you so much for coming on,
No,
my friend.
man, thanks for having me. Hopefully I didn't talk too long for you, Colton, but I appreciate you having me, and you keep doing great work too, man. This podcast is great, and I watch all your commentary stuff as well, man. Keep the good times rolling, man.